This story is called I'm a Millionaire, and my childhood friend demanded I give her a house as a wedding gift, but when I refused, she kicked me out in front of everyone. But before we begin, let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Don't forget to subscribe and enjoy the story. Our friendship started in the most innocent way. I was 7 years old when we moved to the street where Bianca lived. I was one of those quiet kids, always with a book in hand or staring at the world from the living room window. My mom used to say I was mature for my age, but honestly, I was just lonely. And it was Bianca who pulled me out of that shell. She showed up at my door one afternoon, holding a lollipop and flashing a huge smile, saying all the kids on the block were playing hide and seek and that I had to come. From that day on, she became part of my life, like she'd always been there. We grew up side by side, sharing secrets, notebooks, dreams, and of course, all the frustrations that come with adolescence. Bianca was always the bold one, the talkative one, the charismatic one. She was the one who'd start conversations, make up the stories for our games, and push me to do things I probably wouldn't do on my own. And me? I was the listener, the observer, the one who held it all inside and offered a shoulder when she cried over some boy who ignored her or a bad grade she got in school. She had this way of existing that was intense, like the world was supposed to revolve around her. And honestly, maybe it did. Bianca was stunning in a way that drew eyes, and she had this charm that could twist any adult around her finger. I remember watching her sweet-talk teachers into giving her second chances on tests or convincing mall security guards to let us into R-rated movies. She could manipulate people with a smile. And me, I just watched, fascinated, and yet always with this strange little ache in my chest. Like no matter how close we were, I'd never be quite enough next to her. Still, I never questioned our friendship. She gave me what I needed most, companionship. And I gave her what she seemed to want, loyalty. We grew up swearing we'd never lose touch, that we'd be each other's maids of honor, that our kids would be best friends. She said I was the only one who truly understood her, and I believed her. Deep down, I clung to the idea that Bianca needed me, that beneath all that confidence was someone fragile. But now I see it clearly, I was just useful. And being useful is not the same as being loved. In high school, our paths started to split. I landed scholarships, buried myself in books, and chased this vague dream of turning my life around. Bianca, she was on a different wavelength. She wanted parties, relationships, followers. She said studying was important, sure, but that I worried too much about the future. Relax, she'd say, flashing that easy grin. The universe will sort things out for us. And I believed her. Even when she started dating guys who treated me like I didn't exist. Even when she left me out to hang with cooler crowds. Even when I felt invisible. She always came back. Always apologized. Told me I was special. And I forgave her. Because to me, Bianca was family. After high school came the silent break. I got into a public university in another state with a full scholarship and left with a suitcase and a mountain of fear. Bianca stayed behind. Said she'd figure something out locally. Tried makeup artistry, then wanted to be an influencer. She started a bunch of things but never really followed through. Yet somehow, she always sounded so sure that she'd make it big. During college, we talked less. But she still messaged me now and then to say she missed me, that she was proud. Whenever I came back home on breaks, we'd grab coffee. She'd light up when she saw me, like no time had passed. But everything had changed. While I lived broke in shared housing, pulling all-nighters and eating ramen, Bianca was still at home, hanging with the same people, talking about the same things. When I graduated and launched my first startup, a small educational tech platform that took off 2 years later, she was one of the first to congratulate me. Said she was proud of me. And I believed her. Of course I did. When I started making real money, things got weird. She'd joke about how I was rich now, how I should pay for dinner, how I owed her a girl's trip to Europe. I laughed. Thought it was just banter. But over time, those comments felt heavy. Like they were dipped in something I couldn't name. Envy? Bitterness? Or just a warped idea of what wealth meant. She'd say, "It's nothing for you." And maybe it wasn't. Maybe I didn't mind picking up the bill. But what bothered me was the tone. The way it felt expected. Like I owed her something for succeeding. Still, when she told me she was getting married to a guy she'd met less than a year ago on an app, I was the first to celebrate. She was glowing. Told me she wanted me as her maid of honor. Said the day wouldn't feel right without me there. And I said yes, of course. I thought maybe we were finally reconnecting. That this time, our friendship would bloom again, stronger, more mature, more real. But that was the moment. Everything started to fall apart. And that part, I'll tell you in the next chapter. The wedding preparations felt like something out of a low-budget romantic comedy. Bianca was excited in an almost childlike way, sharing mood boards, decoration ideas, dress sketches, song lists, photo shoot concepts, like she had been waiting for this moment her entire life. And honestly, she had. But beneath all that enthusiasm, there was something off. It wasn't just joy. It was as if she wasn't trying to live a dream. She was trying to prove something. Maybe to others. Maybe to herself. She officially asked me to be her maid of honor during a private dinner. Just the two of us. I had picked the restaurant, and of course, paid for it like always. She raised her glass of sparkling wine and told me I was the only real friend she had left, and that it wouldn't feel right starting this new chapter without me standing beside her at the altar. I smiled in that moment. I was genuinely touched. Despite everything we had been through, the distance, the weird shifts in our dynamic, there was a part of me that still wanted to believe the Bianca, who used to call me her sister, was still there. I accepted without hesitation. A few weeks later, she invited me to lunch at her parents' house. It would be the first time I'd meet her fiancé, Rodrigo. He had a warm personality, talkative, sociable, maybe a little too much. From the moment I walked in, I felt his eyes on me. Not in a creepy or disrespectful way, but in this focused, calculated kind of curiosity. Like he was trying to figure me out. We started with light topics, how they met, their habits, honeymoon plans. But before long, the conversation shifted. So, how did you get into the startup world? Rodrigo asked, swirling his wine glass with a faint smirk. Bianca told me you became a millionaire out of nowhere. I laughed, gently, trying not to show how much I hated that phrase. Out of nowhere. Like the sleepless nights, the panic, the endless work meant nothing. It wasn't out of nowhere, I replied calmly. I studied hard, got a scholarship out of state, worked during college. Later, I developed an education project for public schools, focused on accessibility. It started small, but after an angel investor came in and I built a few key partnerships, it really took off. Today, we support over 100,000 students. Rodrigo seemed genuinely impressed. He started asking more technical questions, business model, scalability, potential for international expansion. It was the kind of conversation I loved, especially since no one from my old circle ever asked me about this side of my life. But while he grew more engaged, I noticed Bianca growing quiet. At first, she pretended to be into it. Forced smiles. The occasional, "That's amazing." But soon, it was obvious she wasn't enjoying it at all. Her leg was bouncing under the table. She kept checking her phone. She'd interrupt with random, irrelevant comments. "She works too much, doesn't she?" she said with a chuckle that barely masked something sharper underneath. I don't think I could even handle waking up early every day, let alone running a company. Rodrigo laughed politely, but didn't respond. He just looked at me, and I could tell he was paying attention. Not just to what I said, but to the way Bianca was acting. Then, during dessert, he said, "I'm honestly blown away by your story. You built something incredible from scratch. That's rare. So many people are born into wealth and do nothing. And you, this is real success." The comment, though sincere, struck a nerve in Bianca. She laughed, but it was one of those short, cold laughs that doesn't reach the eyes. "Yeah, some people are just born lucky," she said, giving me a tap on the shoulder. I always say that about her. Born under a lucky star. Meanwhile, I'm over here struggling to pay for the wedding catering. And it's not like my fiancé is rich, either. She tried to make it sound like a joke, but the bitterness clung to every word. Rodrigo attempted to lighten the mood with something goofy, but it was already clear. The vibe had shifted. Driving home that night, I couldn't shake the strange weight in my chest. For years, I had convinced myself that my success wouldn't come between us, that she was truly proud of me. But at that lunch, it felt like her mask slipped, just for a second, and what I saw in her eyes was unmistakable. Jealousy, and maybe a bit of resentment, not because of Rodrigo, but because of who I had become. What I didn't know was everything that was still about to happen. The months leading up to the wedding were, to put it mildly, a test of patience. Every week brought a new drama, a new demand, a new, over-the-top idea. Bianca dove headfirst into her bride era like it was a sacred mission, and as much as I tried to keep a lighthearted attitude, I started to feel like a poorly paid extra in a show I never auditioned for. Right after the engagement announcement, she created a WhatsApp group called Team Bride Bride with Veil Rings Sparkling Heart and added all the bridesmaids, including me. From the group description, no complaining, just living the BB dream. I already knew this was going to be a circus. And sure enough, within days, she began sending out spreadsheets. 3 Google Docs, to be exact. One with support tasks, one bridesmaid assigned to hold the train of the dress, another to keep her lipstick fresh for photos, another to monitor hair and shine, as if we were in a Hollywood production. Another document covered the details for a bachelorette trip to Buzios, where we were all expected to pay for our transportation, lodging, and split a 1,300 Brazilian reals custom-themed cake. But the final spreadsheet was the real kicker, the gift list. Except it wasn't just a wedding registry. It was a full-on luxury catalog. An adult wish list disguised as tradition. A 5-door fridge. A 12-seat modular sofa. A real Persian rug. A voice-activated air fryer. A custom-upholstered king bed. An 85-inch TV. A robot vacuum with Wi-Fi. Every single item on the list was over 2,000 reais. One link led to a French dinnerware set priced at nearly 5,000. Another was for a wall-mounted wine cooler. One of the bridesmaids joked in the group chat. So, where's the normal silverware? Faced with tears of joy, Bianca replied almost instantly. Oh girls, you know we already have the basics. Grinning face with sweat. This list is just for those who want to really invest in our future. If you can't, just give what your heart tells you. Red heart. That smiley face sugar-coated manipulation. And deep down, I knew exactly who that was aimed at. She hadn't said it directly, but it was clear. The rich friend. The successful one. The one who, supposedly, didn't even notice when money left her account. She expected me to pick the most expensive item on the list. To make a grand gesture. To be the shining example. To prove, once again, that I was willing to pay for my place in her life. But this time, I wouldn't. I took a deep breath and messaged her privately. Hey Pia, I saw the gift list. I don't feel comfortable with the prices. I'm here to celebrate with you, but I hope you understand I'm not here to furnish your house on my dime. She took a few minutes to reply. When she did, the message came sharp and passive. Wow, didn't expect that from you. I thought you, of all people, wouldn't care about price. But hey, it's fine. Everyone gives what they can. And wants to. That last line stuck with me like a splinter. In the days that followed, the group chat turned colder toward me. A few bridesmaids started making vague comments about how some people are more involved than others. One even asked, half-jokingly, so is everyone chipping in for the split AC for their honeymoon suite? I didn't answer. I withdrew. Because at that point, I wasn't a friend anymore. I was a credit card with a dress code. The week of the wedding, I almost backed out. But I didn't. Maybe because of old loyalty. Maybe pride. Maybe some naive part of me still believed she'd remember who I was. Not what I could give. The wedding day arrived. It was set in a rented estate in the mountains, full Pinterest style. Rustic chic decor, gourmet food trucks, a custom cocktail bar, and even a giant LED screen with their initials blinking in gold. I showed up early, as requested. I wore the required dress color. I got my hair done, did the photos, smiled for the camera. I played the part. Bianca looked beautiful, stunning actually. The dress was perfect, her hair flawless, her entire aura glowing. But her eyes weren't the eyes I remembered. There was no warmth, just tension, like a volcano waiting for the cue to erupt. During the getting ready portion, she barely spoke to me. Didn't include me in the side chats, the giggles, the special moments. I was there, but not part of it. Right before we lined up to walk the aisle, she glanced at me, gave a tight smile, and whispered, "I hope today, at least, you're really present." A quiet jab, disguised as grace. I didn't reply. I walked, held my bouquet, took my place at the altar. The ceremony felt like a performance. For the cameras, for the guests, not for love. Still, I stayed. For what we were, not for what we'd become. But the worst was still to come. Later at the reception, after the first dance, the emotional speeches, the family photos, Bianca took the mic. She thanked the bridesmaids, her magical fairies, as she called us. She brought each one to the stage, praised them, hugged them, until it was my turn. She smiled, but her eyes didn't. And finally, my most reserved bridesmaid, she said, locking eyes with me. The one who's always too busy to reply, but she made it here today. The one who thought our gift list was a little too much, but hey, they say love isn't about money, right? A wave of awkward laughter rippled through the room. Still, she added with a dramatic pause, "Thank you for coming, even if you didn't bring a gift." Silence. In front of everyone. Her family, her friends, the cameras, the entire guest list. She humiliated me. And in that moment, something inside me cracked. But I said nothing.
Not then.
Because my answer
Was still on its way.
I wasn't happy anymore. Not even a little. I had spent the whole day pretending, smiling for photos, laughing politely, toasting like I actually wanted to be there. But inside, I was drained, exhausted, and increasingly disgusted with how performative everything had become. The wedding didn't feel like a celebration. It felt like a production, a giant, glitter-covered stage, where the bride played the lead role and everyone else was just a well-dressed extra. But even with all that, I never expected this. It was already late in the evening. The music had softened, the guests were a little tipsy, the lighting was romantic. The perfect setup for the final act of Bianca's show. She got up on the small stage again, this time hand in hand with Rodrigo, wearing the kind of grin that said she was about to drop something big. She raised the mic and did her signature pause for effect routine. "Everyone, I know tonight has already been perfect, but there's still one more surprise." The crowd murmured. The DJ lowered the volume. "We want to announce the most special gift we received, something beyond our wildest dreams." I felt something twist in my gut. A chill. A warning. "We've been gifted a house."
Gasps.
Applause. People shouted, "No way," and "Oh my God," and started clapping like seals. I froze. Dead silent. Frozen. Watching.
Yes.
A house. Our very first home together. A symbol of our future, our love, our family. But the most beautiful part, she looked at Rodrigo and then at the crowd, is how the gift was decided. I started to feel sick. It was a surprise organized by my amazing bridesmaids. They all voted, anonymously of course, on who among them was best suited to give this gift. And the one chosen was. Her eyes locked with mine. I knew it. I knew what was coming. Our lovely, brilliant, successful millionaire maid of honor. Everything stopped. Music. Conversations. Breathing. The world stopped. People turned to stare at me. Phones were pulled out. Whispers began. Bianca clapped. Rodrigo looked at me with that same smug expression he wore during that lunch. And then she said, "Let's give her a huge round of applause for this incredible act of generosity." The crowd erupted, and I sat frozen, in disbelief, in rage. A few people around me patted my shoulder. "Wow, a house? That's amazing. I didn't know you were that close." She really went all out.
No, no, no.
I stood up, walked slowly to the stage, not to smile, not to hug, but to stop the madness. I took the mic from Bianca's hand. My voice came out calm.
Too calm.
I didn't give anyone a house. The room fell into a stunned silence. Rodrigo looked confused. Bianca froze. No one told me.
No one asked me.
No one voted. This was not discussed with me. And I'm not going to stand here and let anyone assume that just because I have money, I owe anyone something like that. Bianca laughed nervously, trying to play it off. Oh, come on, it was symbolic. Just our way of showing appreciation. Symbolic? A house?
No.
Let me be clear. I am not anyone's mother. I'm not here to fund someone else's adult life. You want a house? Work for it. Like I did. Cry for it. Like I did. Build it from nothing. Like I did. There were phones recording. At least 3 people. I saw them. Bianca's face twisted. She grabbed the mic back from me. You're unbelievable.
Selfish. Cold.
After everything I've done for you over the years, this is how you show up? You think you're better than everyone, right? Always the smart one, the rich one, the important one.
Her voice was rising.
Her mask was slipping. You know what? Get out. Get out of my wedding. You're no longer welcome here. Go back to your penthouse or your startup or whatever the hell you care about, because you clearly don't care about real people. People were murmuring. Some were awkwardly laughing. Others just watched, stunned. I looked around. I saw the eyes, the cameras, the judgment. And for a second, I almost felt embarrassed. Almost. But then something inside me snapped. And snapped clean. I didn't say another word. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I grabbed my purse. And I walked out. Step by step. Head held high. Outside, I heard the music come back on. Like nothing had happened. But something had happened. A line was crossed. A friendship was buried. And a storm, one she never saw coming, was already brewing. Because I don't scream. I don't humiliate. But when I strike back, you never see it coming. And Bianca? She had no idea that my response was already on its way. I thought it would end there. That public humiliation, that calculated exposure in front of everyone, would be the final chapter in a friendship that, truthfully, had been dead for a long time. But the world doesn't work like that. Not when phones are recording. Not when social media thrives on real drama, especially one soaked in arrogance, betrayal, and a hint of revenge. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to dozens of messages. Some from old friends who had seen the videos. Others from numbers I didn't even recognize. What started as a trickle of support quickly turned into a storm. On TikTok, a video of Bianca kicking me out of her wedding had already passed 400,000 views before noon. The title? Bride kicks out millionaire maid of honor for not buying her a house. The comments were a wave of outrage. She wanted a house. That's not friendship. That's extortion. The maid of honor handled that like a queen. I would have thrown the mic at her face. She didn't want a friend. She wanted a bank account. On Instagram, screenshots from our bridesmaid group chat were being shared. Someone, and to this day I don't know who, had leaked messages where Bianca was pressuring the bridesmaids, making passive-aggressive jokes, and clearly stating that I had a moral obligation to contribute more. People saw it all, and they took my side. Within 48 hours, I was no longer the cheap maid of honor. I had become a symbol of boundaries, of self-worth, of stop using successful women as ATMs.
And Bianca?
She became a meme. Me at my friend's wedding waiting for her to buy me an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Bianca, if you want a sofa, go sit down at the store with some humility. She was tagged in everything. She lost control of the narrative. On the 3rd day after the wedding, she texted me. It was cold, passive-aggressive, and dripping with resentment. Thanks for turning my wedding into a public circus. Hope your little empowerment campaign is treating you well. Never thought you would be the one to stab me in the back like this. I read it, breathed, and replied calmly. I didn't do anything except tell the truth. What you did to me in front of everyone, that's not something you do to anyone, let alone someone you claimed was your childhood friend.
So please, Bianca, forget me.
For good. She didn't reply. And for months, there was silence. I moved on with my life. I traveled, closed a new round of investments, got invited to speak on podcasts, in interviews, at events about boundaries, toxic friendships, emotional abuse. And for the first time in years, I had peace. Real peace. Until he showed up. Rodrigo. Her husband. His message came out of nowhere. A DM on Instagram. Private account. No more couple photos. No wedding ring in his profile pic. Just a simple message. Hi. I'm not sure I should be doing this, but I wanted to apologize. That whole situation, it went way too far. I was never okay with how she treated you. I hope you're doing well. I stared at the message for a few minutes. I thought about deleting it, blocking him, ignoring it. But something in me, that part of me that doesn't forget, opened it. I responded a few days later. Short, blunt. I'm fine. And yes, it went too far. And then he kept writing. We started chatting.
Carefully.
He said Bianca had been spiraling, that the marriage wasn't what it looked like online, that the facade was crumbling. And that's when I saw it. The crack, the fracture, the opportunity. Not for reconciliation, but for something far more satisfying. Justice. I began replying more often. Always polite, respectful, supportive, but never too open. He started to vent. About her control, the public scenes, the pressure, how she treated him, how she treated everyone. She's obsessed with her image. She stalks your posts. Freaks out if I even like anything remotely related to you. She talks about you like you're some villain. But honestly, I don't see it anymore. Every message gave me more. He told me how she treated the house staff, how she manipulated his mother, how she lied to friends about me, saying I'd always been jealous of her. And I listened. I made notes. I waited. Because I didn't want to just walk away. I wanted her to feel what I felt. Not through screaming. Not through public drama. But through consequences. And Rodrigo, he was handing me the ammunition.
Piece by piece.
The plan was still forming. She had humiliated me in front of 200 people. Made a spectacle of me like I was nothing. Now it was my turn. And when the time came, she would learn the hard way. Some people walk away. Others come back. And when they do, they come back stronger. Sharper.
And ready.
One quiet night, after another round of messages with Rodrigo, the idea came to me. Up until that point, I'd been listening, collecting everything, his rants, his complaints, his so-called truths. He seemed sincere, vulnerable, hurt, but something didn't sit right. He kept saying Bianca was controlling, obsessed, toxic, that their marriage was a disaster, that he was stuck, tired, done. But he stayed. And more than that, he kept getting closer to me. His messages started crossing lines. You've always been different. She never appreciated you. If only I'd met you first. I wasn't naive. I'd heard it all before. And that's when it hit me. Things between them weren't nearly as bad as he claimed. He just wanted to flirt, to worm his way into my life, make me feel like the better option, the alternative, the woman he should have been with. And suddenly, I saw my opening. Not just to get revenge for what Bianca had done to me on her wedding day, but to make her see the truth for herself. To make her feel what it's like to be betrayed, blindsided, exposed. Not by me. By her own husband. I kept the conversation going. Pleasant. Controlled. He kept inching forward, pushing boundaries.
Complimenting me.
Calling me beautiful.
Saying he thought about me.
Until finally he made his move. We should meet.
Just talk.
No pressure. I played along. Told him maybe. Suggested something discreet.
Private.
He didn't even hesitate. There's a motel near downtown. It's quiet. I could be there around 6. I took screenshots. Every message. Every word. Date and time stamped. I saved the old ones too, where he trashed Bianca, called their marriage fake, said she was a nightmare. Then I created an anonymous email to Bianca. Subject: You deserve to know the truth. Attached, the screenshots. In the body of the message I wrote, If you want to see for yourself, he made plans with her at Motel Onyx.
Today. 6 p.m.
It's your choice. No name. Just one sentence at the end. From someone who knows how it feels to be lied to. I got to the place early.
Hoodie. Sunglasses.
Cab parked across the street at a gas station. My phone camera ready. Propped up, focused. At 5:57, she arrived. Alone.
Tense.
Stone-faced. Phone in hand. She walked through the entrance like she owned the place, with the fury of someone who already knew the truth and came to confirm it. At 6:03, Rodrigo pulled in, adjusting his shirt, fixing his hair, looking way too relaxed for someone about to walk into a trap. He stepped inside, clueless, until he saw her, Bianca, arms crossed, standing dead in the middle of the hallway. And the moment their eyes met, pure gold, he froze. She didn't. She exploded. She shoved him, screamed in his face, held up the phone with the messages. You thought I wouldn't find out? You thought I'm stupid? You were going to cheat on me again? He tried to explain, stuttering, backing up. But she wasn't having it. She slapped his chest, cursed, yelled louder. The front desk staff just stared, frozen, unsure of what to do. A live betrayal unraveling right there in the open. I filmed every second. Sound clear. Image focused. Later that night, I posted it. Anonymous account. Caption. From the wedding of the year to the motel of the truth. The internet did the rest. People recognized her instantly. Comments came in waves. Wait, is this the house wedding girl? Well, at least now she has somewhere to live alone. Rodrigo walked straight into his own funeral. This is karma in 4K. Within 24 hours, Bianca deleted every one of her accounts. Rodrigo too. But it didn't matter. The story was already out there. The video was everywhere. The divorce was swift. No split assets. No mediation. She was kicked out of Rodrigo's family home in shame, labeled unstable by neighbors who heard the screaming match. And her friends?
Gone.
No one wanted to be associated with her. She was left with no husband, no social circle, no dignity. And worst of all, no way to erase the truth. Because the internet never forgets. I never spoke to either of them again. I didn't need to. I kept the original video, not to repost, but to remind myself. Sometimes, revenge doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need violence. It just needs timing.
Clarity.
Precision. Bianca destroyed herself. All I did was hand her a mirror. Months went by. The dust settled. The video stopped circulating. Social media moved on to other scandals, as it always does. But I remained in peace. Not because I had gotten revenge, but because I had finally closed a door that should have been shut long ago. The truth is, our friendship had been dead for years. All that remained was expectation, entitlement, envy dressed as closeness. And when I let that go, I felt lighter, freer. I returned to my life, to my calm days, to my quiet nights, to the freedom of not being anyone's emotional or financial crutch. And then, out of nowhere, she came back. Bianca. Alone. No filters. No glowing eyes. She messaged me. Just a simple request. I don't want anything. I just need to talk. I almost ignored her. But curiosity won. We met in a quiet little cafe in the middle of the afternoon. Neutral ground. No audience. No tension. Just silence. She looked like a different woman. Smaller. Tired. Like someone who had finally been forced to look at herself. She sat across from me and said, I came to say I'm sorry. I stayed quiet. She went on. For everything. For how I treated you at the wedding.
For what I said.
For how I made you feel. I lost control. I thought you owed me something just because we were friends. I thought having you around meant I deserved more. And I ruined it. I lost you. I lost my marriage. I lost everything. Everyone left. And I don't blame them. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry.
She didn't know.
She had no idea I was the one who set up the motel meeting. That I had been the anonymous email. that I was the one who filmed it all and let the world see it. In her mind, I was still the girl she humiliated, the one who just walked away. And I let her believe that. Because sometimes silence is justice. I took a breath and answered. Bianca, what you did to me wasn't just petty. It was cruel. You made me a spectacle. You used our friendship like a stage prop, expecting me to pay for your life just because you couldn't afford it yourself. And when I said no, you tried to destroy me publicly. You didn't just hurt me. You disrespected everything we'd ever shared. She looked down, tears welling up. I didn't stop. You confused friendship with convenience. And when I didn't give you what you wanted, you threw me away. But what you built on appearances, it collapsed.
Hard.
And that's on you. She tried to speak, but I cut her off. You didn't lose everything because people are mean. You lost it because you were greedy, selfish, and arrogant. And now, maybe you want redemption. But it won't come from me. Her eyes filled with tears. She was shaking, but I felt no pity, only clarity. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and ended it with one final truth. I don't want a friend who sees me as a bank account. I want peace. And that's what I found the moment you left my life. You never knew how to be a friend. And now you'll have to learn how to be a human being. Goodbye, Bianca. I walked out without looking back. Never spoke to her again. She still has no idea that I was the one who ended her perfect marriage. But that's not my problem anymore. Because that's how I ended a childhood friendship. Not out of hatred, but out of self-respect. To protect myself. From her greed. From her manipulation. From everything she chose to become. What did you think of this story and this video format? Leave your feedback in the comments to help us improve the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. See you in the next video.